our first speaker this evening to share with us the objectives and the criteria for this particular pathway speech. Would you please welcome Able Communicator Silver, Mr. Peter Miller.
Mr. Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen, this speech is from the manual Reaching Consensus Level 3 project. And it says here, the purpose of this project is for the member to work with the group to practice reaching consensus on any topic. The purpose of this speech is for the member to discuss his experience leading a non-Toastmaster group towards consensus. Sounds complicated. Sure it is. But it says we should listen for a well-organized speech about his experience leading a group towards consensus. The speech may be humorous, informational, or any type of speech of the members choosing. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Peter. So, ladies and gentlemen, to speak to us to the title, Jacket and Tie. Jacket and tie, would you please help me welcome Mr. Ndumisio Nkonzo.
Mr. Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen, maybe let me start with the project itself. The project has got two options. You can either lead the discussion outside Toastmasters, which is what Peter was talking about. But I'm doing option one, which is leading a discussion in the club. So I'm not going to be giving a speech, but I will rather be leading a discussion in the club, which I'm about to explain now what is it about. So basically what's going to happen is that we are going to, I'll give it the topic, which is what my title of the project is about, the jacket and tie. Now, after the discussion, I am going to give a 3-minute speech. So the project itself is supposed to take us 20 minutes. For timekeeper, please, for my purposes, we're going to have 2 times being kept. The first one is just for my purpose so that I'm able to manage the discussion. At 12 minutes, give me green. 14, give me amber. And then at 16, give me red, because then the discussion must end so that I can then give my 3-minute speech, which is going to take us up to the 20th minute. So on my speech, green at 18, amber at 19, and then red at 20. So our discussion, my project will basically be over. Now, on the project itself, we have, as the club, we have had this discussion, but it has never been finalized. It was in a formal club meeting. This is not a formal club meeting. This is a project that I'm doing. But I can imagine that EXCO will be making notes because this is an important issue for the club. Our dress code. Do we have to be formal? Jacket and tie, and it has to be buttoned. The jacket, we've been told so many times that the jacket must be buttoned, and you must be presentable, no collars hanging all over the place. But to be honest, we are in 2020 or 2020. We've got a new generation. And as a club, we would want to attract the new members to come to our club. So should we be that strict with our dress code? Is there a chance to at least loosen up maybe we have, I don't want the discussion to go into the dress code in totality, but just the jacket and the tie. Do we really have to have both? Or we can have one? If you have the tie, then you don't necessarily need the jacket. If you've got the jacket, then you don't necessarily need a tie. So this is going to be our point of discussion. And I'm going to ask each and every member of the club to have a say in this matter. But to start the discussion, I thought, let's have visitors. People who are not members of this club tell us what is their view of the dress code, the jacket and the tie. How do they feel about the dress code? Would it make a difference for them when they join the club? Because when people visit our club, they come in their comfort. I've visited many clubs where people are comfortable in whatever that they dress. So when people visit our club, they come in their comfort. And most often than not, it's not a jacket and a tie. And I have had situations where people contact me before they come to the club to say, I want to come and visit your club. And then during the break, then they say, why didn't you tell me that this meeting is so formal, I need a jacket and a tie. So this is an issue of contention for the members and for also the visitors. So as I was saying, I would like to start with two of our visitors to tell us how do they feel about this subject. So Francois, if you can start, how do you feel about the dress code, the jacket and the tie? Would you prefer the full set? Yes. Or one or the other? Please just
sure. Okay, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. So my opinion on this is that there's no correlation between speaking ability and the clothes that you're wearing. However, desensitizing yourself in the situations where you would be speaking normally, many of these occasions would be wearing a suit or being formally dressed. Desensitizing yourself and putting yourself in that environment does have some benefits as well. So I understand both sides of the points of view. I do prefer the formal wear.
That would be the jacket and the tie.
The jacket, well, it doesn't necessarily, depending on the decorum, but I'm only a visitor, so I don't really want to say what
I want to hear your views. You have to give us, this applies to everyone that's going to be speaking. And you can say what you're going to say, but just tell us whether what's your preference. Is it the jacket and the tie, or just either?
I think
like when I'm saying either, our bad example is Peter.
Bad. I would think
bad influence, not example. Bad influence.
I would think for formal events, fully dressed, but for not so formal events, just practice speeches, more casual dress would be appropriate. That would be my opinion.
So in meetings like this, casual dress?
More casual, yes.
Okay. Thanks, Francois. Bongan, what's your view on the matter?
Thank you. The last time I was almost forced to wear a tie was when I was in high school. that had to happen every day. And but I believe for every occasion there's a specific dress code, because then you want to be. It speaks to how you carry yourself in that environment, or even maybe how other people view you in a probably a specific setup, like in a meeting. And why I thought I needed to come to such a gathering and get some kind of experience is because I want to be able to present myself in almost such meetings. And to me, this seems a bit formal, but maybe just a jacket and a formal shirt would do. Thank you.
Thank you, Bongan. Okay, let's start now. The members. Start with you, Lena. Not a long speech, maybe let's have it about 30 seconds, not more than that. At the end, just say whether is it one or both.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Toastmaster, let me just say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. That, by the way, is biblical. Don't come to Rome and make the Romans do as you do. The decline of any entity, country, or family starts with the decline of standards and of good intentions. Let's not get involved.
So, is it a jacket and a tie?
It's a jacket and a tie.
Thank you. Then now, Jan Hendrik.
Thank you, Mr. Discussion Leader. In general, I tended towards the more informal approach, but recently I've been listening to a person who coaches business people into allegedly becoming super successful, and the particular person does have a lot of success. And he is a very firm believer in dressing well. For example, every time that I've seen him on YouTube, he doesn't only have a jacket and a tie, he's got what I just know as an onderbuik. He's got a little gold pocket watch, and he's got the scarf, and he's got the cut and the whole thing. And his reasoning is essentially, and boils down to saying that if you want to become super successful and you walk into a meeting with a banker or with some other business people where you are negotiating a $50 or $100 million deal, you can't go into that meeting dressed casually. You won't be taken seriously. And that, in a sense, changed my mind and convinced me that it is probably a good idea for us to practice, since we all want to become successful, that scenario. And I'll just end by what he said that stuck in my mind. I mentioned it before as well. He said, when you're in the business world, you dress British and you think Yiddish.
So for you, it's a jacket and a tie. Bruno?
Ladies and gentlemen, I think my stance on this is there's absolutely no question about it. None whatsoever. Change anything. Jacket and tie, that's how it is. Clap.
Thank you, Bruno, and also for being brief. Rob?
Mr. Session Leader, ladies and gentlemen, to me, absolute minimum should be a collared shirt and a jacket. I think the tie is perhaps going out of fashion, and so if I had to vote, and we're not voting, we're just giving our opinion, a jacket, yes, and a collared shirt, yes. A tie, if you're comfortable. And if you're going to speak maybe of an evening, and you're presenting a speech that evening, you choose to wear a tie, that's fine. I would enjoy that.
Thank you, Rob. Jane?
Okay, so I think this is simulating a specific scenario, and for most of us that differs. So in my case, at work I'm in slops and a t-shirt. So
So you think you're smart now, are you?
Put on the shirt.
So I definitely wear a tie if it's required, but I think Peter got away with it for quite a long time.
So for you, it's a jacket and a collared shirt, right?
Yes.
For you, jacket and a collared shirt.
That's it.
Oh, cool.
Busy?
Yes, no, so well, my take on this, yeah, you know, looking formal really makes one feel great about themselves, and I really think it also forces you to take yourself seriously and actually feel that professionalism or that need to actually improve and become better at something. Although I'm also usually in jeans and t-shirts, sometimes my jeans are hanging below my waistline, so I don't think that it would be appropriate to our decorum here. So with that being said, I think the way our dress code is just as good, but we can do away with the tie sometimes and just have a collared shirt and a jacket, and maybe just have both. So that's my take on this.
Thank you, Percy. Madibu.
Mr. Session Leader, you know me as a diplomat. So of course we wear tie and a jacket in our meetings. But there is occasions when we don't. We just wear a jacket and a collared shirt. But so that's what I prefer. But I want to put a spanner on the issue. I'm an African, and I think a decent African shirt should also qualify as a shirt.
Okay, thank you. But we thanks, Motikwa. We're not going to go, that's why I said the discussion, I don't want it to go wider than the jacket and the tie, because otherwise we're going to go very far. We need hours and hours. Mr. President.
Mr. Speaker, I have two ties that I've bought before, after I joined the club that I'm quite fond of. And every Wednesday I look forward to wearing them. But we could perhaps maybe do away with just the tie and jacket and just put on the jacket. That'll make me sad, but I'm willing to compromise just the tie.
Thanks, Sam. Yes, yeah.
In Germany, the tie is going fast out of fashion. Even politicians and board directors of corporations do not wear a tie. Not necessarily, they may, but often they don't. They would wear maybe still a suit, they would even wear a jacket, but definitely not a tie. Now, if that is a trend in South Africa, I'm not quite sure whether in the great public people, do they still always wear a tie or not? If that were the case, you might well relax a bit more here in the club.
Tony?
Mr. Session Leader, some decades ago when we were still meeting in the German club, we had a very hot summer, a heat wave, and we decided for a while we would relax the dress code totally. And the members then started arriving in sandals and t-shirts, and the quality of the meeting started to drop. So as soon as the temperature came down to below 30 degrees, we decided back to where we were, and the quality did arise. But as you say, this is 2020, not 1920, and I tend to go along with what Rob said. A collared shirt, a jacket, dispense with a tie, unless if you are speaking and you wish to present better, then by all means wear your tie, but it's not compulsory. So I would relax it only to that extent.
Thank you, Tony.
To maintain the standard of decorum of the club.
Thank you, Tony. Stefan?
Ndumisio, yes, to answer your question, I would say jacket and tie. If you're a member of the audience and you're a grammarian or something, you do something less important than speaking, you can lose your jacket and not wear the jacket. But if you're speaking, you need to walk up to the podium or the lectern, and you must wear your jacket and tie when you speak. It looks good, and it's got an emotional effect on you. If you look good, you feel good about yourself, and then you will present a more confident speech and get good marks on your evaluation.
Thanks, Stefan. Adrian?
Ndumisio. I believe we're doing it just right. This jacket and tie has become such an integral part of the forum decorum that I don't see any reason why we should change it. It's a bit, yes, uncomfortable, but becoming comfortable with something that is not perfectly comfortable makes it easier for you. You know what? If you're comfortable with your jacket and tie, you'll be even more comfortable in other situations. So it's better, it's easier to dress down than to dress up. When you're never comfortable in your jacket and tie, then you would have a hard time dressing up.
Okay, thank you. Ross, also with that.
Mr. Discussion Leader, tonight I had a shock realization whilst dressing up for this meeting. I really struggled to close my jacket. And I just didn't realize the past December holidays was just a day too long. That being said, I managed to close it, and being up there a couple of half an hour or so ago, it really made me feel more confident to be wearing a jacket and tie. So I believe you dress for success. And I'd rather stick to, even though it's sometimes a bit uncomfortable, definitely stick to the jacket and tie.
Ross?
Mr. Speaker, I'm generally not one to argue. I like structure. So if it says jacket and tie, I wear a jacket and tie. If it says I must wear bright pink shorts, I will do it. So, but I think fashionably speaking, and I learned it from my wife, which reads all the magazines, the term formal has changed a bit, and I think nowadays you can get away with just a jacket and not a tie. Speaker.
Ross. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, there's an unwritten law in speaking that if you ask to speak, you need to be as best dressed as the best dressed person in the room. I will always have my jacket and tie on.
Thank you, Jan. Will?
Mr. Speaker, I've got very strong feelings about this. I believe we retain jackets and tie. We don't need to be bullied by the younger generation who want to drop sex. And I will tell you, Mr. Speaker, that when I am sloppily dressed, I behave like a hooligan. When I'm smartly dressed with a jacket and tie, you won't believe what a gentleman I am.
Session leader, it's quite simple. I don't wear a tie, I'm not a capitalist.
So, gentlemen, there you have it. The consensus has been reached. It's a
tie.
It's a tie. It's a tie. It's a tie. There is no consensus in this matter. It has been discussed in our club several times. But at some point, we will need to, I don't want to say move on with the times, but we need to think about what is it that other people would prefer. We don't need necessarily to drop the standard. Like Lionel said, once you drop the standard, even the quality of our speeches will drop. But when you are here speaking, you at least you are at least supposed to be given a leeway to not to worry about one thing, and that is your comfort. Now, as I was researching the topic about clothes and fashion, since the beginning of humankind, there's been quotations, there's been lots that has been said about this subject. One is that fashion and style has been a major cultural preoccupation since man first admired himself in the skin. So when we got the skin, I don't know where we used to look at ourselves then, probably in water, because I can imagine that there were no mirrors. But we were preoccupied about the way we looked. Now, for the purpose of this environment, you need to understand that style isn't just about what you wear. It's also about what you say. A man should look as if he had bought his clothes with intelligence, put them on with care, and then forgot all about them. So what's important is not necessarily the jacket and the tie, but is that you must be comfortable in those clothes that you'll be wearing. There's been an old age saying that clothes make a man. Now, what I also found today is that naked people have got little or no influence on society. So when you are allowed, if we get to a point where we reach the consensus, and you are allowed to dress down a little, don't take it two-way out. Clothes and manners do not make the man, but when he is made, they greatly improve his appearance. So in closing, clothes are important, but they are not everything. Mr. Tosman.